celebrated Ratha Yatra, beginning and ending in the famous Shivaji Park in the Dadar district. How many of you attended Ratha Yatra? Please raise your hands. In my 36 years of being a devotee within this movement, I can honestly tell that it was one of the most wonderfully organized, beautiful events I've ever seen. Really a beautiful parade. The arrangements made at Shivaji Park, outstanding. And the publicity, one of the largest crowds we've ever had. In that one evening, 20,375 people took prasad. Most of them were there for lecture, for kirtan, seeing the displays, questions, answers, so many books people are taking. Could everyone hear? Mahaprabhu, that is because you are very high. In relation to you, everything is very low. But still, if you could make the volume more high. The darshan of Jagannath, that beautiful altar in the middle of a park with chandelier and waterfall, and those incredible offerings, so much detailed devotion. The Rajbhog offering of Jagannath was all in beautiful pots that were handmade and decorated by devotees with all sorts of nice decorative jewels. Not real jewels, but better than real jewels. When you offer a piece of glass to Krishna as a jewel, it is more rare than a diamond, because it becomes transcendental through the process of bhakti. Yes? A glass piece of jewelry offered to the deities is millions of times more valuable than a large diamond offered to someone's wife. Because one has spiritual wealth. One has only material wealth. And ultimately, what is material wealth? It really, from the perspective of reality, it's worth nothing. It's like Srila Prabhupada, he explained that gold is like yellow stool. Now, if we want to analyze yellow stool, we will not go into too many technical biological details. But if you have jaundice, that's what happens. So it's diseased. So people are putting all this stuff all over their bodies, and they're thinking they're beautiful. But then Sometimes we put gold on the temple or on the deities. Why would we put such an abominable substance? Because when it's on the deities, it's not just gold. It's transcendental. It's divine. It's bhakti. Bhakti transforms everything into something that liberates us rather than binds us. In a diseased condition, one of the 5 places that Kali prevails is where there is a hoarding of gold. Which means where there is greed for wealth. What takes place when there's greed for wealth? Quarrel and hypocrisy. The 2 symptoms of Kali. Even brothers who eat at the same table become enemies. First they're eating at the same table, sharing the same food. And later on, they're sharing the same courtroom on different sides, suing each other, fighting each other. Why? Over greed. But when that same substance is offered to Krishna, it becomes divine. So when I saw those pots that were made with little mirrors and other plastic things, this is wealth. Because they offered the best that they could in every detail with devotion for the pleasure of Jagannath. Bhakti is wealth. It's the only wealth that does not perish. It is the only wealth that liberates the soul. It is the only wealth that awakens real spiritual joy. The wonderful altar and darshan of Jagannath. Incredible firework display. It just didn't end. Now I have a confession to make to you. Last year, or not last, earlier this year, on the 4th of July, we witnessed the world-famous Macy's fireworks display in Manhattan Island of New York City. But we justified it. There's one, Umesh and Aparna have an apartment right over, where their window is right over the river where the fireworks go off. So we had a program at their house that night. And it happened to be Tamal Krishna Goswami's appearance day. So we had a Vyas Puja for him, and we had Kirtan, and we had Arti, and we had Vyas, and then the fireworks started going off after all the lectures and formalities. And as the fireworks were going off, we were having Kirtan. Ananta Govinda, one wonderful Gurukuli, and Achyuta Gopi, they were singing beautiful Kirtan, and we were chanting, and everyone was looking out the window. But really, I really think the fireworks last night were so much superior. Not only from my unprofessional eyes, but from a devotional platform, those fireworks were an offering to welcome Lord Jagannath to Shivaji Park. It was amazing. As soon as his chariot arrived at Shivaji Park, it was to welcome him. It was for his pleasure. We were discussing Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, how he took the essence of Rupa Goswami's teaching, Yukta Vairagya, and made it so practical to the world today. Yukta Vairagya means the prapanchakatiya budya harisambandhi bashtana mumukshami parityagyo vairagyam phalbhupkakyate. That if something could be used for Krishna's service, if you renounce that, that is incomplete renunciation. Rupa Goswami taught, we accept whatever is favorable for devotional service, we reject. Krishna. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samandita. All spiritual and material worlds, Krishna says, are emanating from me. Because Krishna is perfect and complete, Om Purnam Adapurnamayam, everything that emanates from Krishna must also be perfect and complete. The only imperfection is when we, who have free will, as jivatmas, spirit souls, when we fail to recognize anything's perfect relationship with Krishna. Our misconception is imperfect. But everything is perfect, because everything's coming from Krishna. Just like the sun. If you look toward the sun, there's only light. If you look away from the sun, you see your own shadow. Shadow is darkness. There cannot be a shadow without the sun. Similarly, darkness only comes when we turn our face away from Krishna. We see darkness. So this is the great disease. We do not understand that this body is the property of God, and that everything in creation is the property of God. And the cause of all suffering is when we use this body and we use the facilities of creation apart from God's will. Bhakti is the highest science. Essence, how to utilize everything, subtle and gross, according to its constitutional nature, for the pleasure of the Lord. Lakshmi is goddess of fortune. But Lakshmi never, ever, ever leaves the loving service of the Supreme Lord. I'm sorry. She came to Kolhapur once. But then the Lord followed behind and went to Tirupati. And ultimately they were reunited. That was a pastime. But she did it all for the pleasure of the Lord, ultimately. When you try to separate the fortune of this world from the service of the Lord, Lakshmi becomes Durga. She rides a lion, and she carries many weapons. Everything is Krishna's. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he revolutionized Vaishnavism. Because people were thinking you can't be a Vaishnava if you have contact with all material things, especially modern material things. You should just live in a little hut or a little bhajan kutir, and you have your little roti and you chant your japa and you're happy. That's all. That's Vaishnava. That is Vaishnava. Now Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was a sannyasi. He was a renunciate. But to reach other people, he understood everything in creation can be utilized. He drove a car to Radhakund. Betty, that's brave. People, what a nonsense. You're supposed to be renounced, you're sannyasi. He specifically did that because he wanted to make such a bold statement. He used printing presses. He said everything and anything can be transcendentalized when it is used in the service of the Lord. But the symptom that it's actually really being used in the service of the Lord is we have no ulterior motives. We're not using it for me, we're using it for Krishna. And that is a fine line. It's very easy to say, I'm doing it for Krishna. But actually, Haribo, we could even deceive ourselves. It's like Radharani appeared to me in a dream to tell me to offer the deities pizza. So Rajbhog offering today will be pizza. No, we're not against pizza, because pizza can also be used in Krishna's service. But it's not that we offer the deity just what we like. We offer the deity what Krishna likes. He likes devotion. Whether it's pizza or pakora. If it's offered with devotion, Krishna accepts it. And that is why it is required, Guru Sadhu Shastra. We need the spiritual master, we need sadhus, we need scripture to teach us what Krishna likes. Otherwise anybody could just extend their own desires. This is what Krishna wants. When we have pure hearts, or let us say when we have pure motives, everything can be used in Krishna's service. Computers, tape recorders, microphones, musical instruments, airplanes. It can be all used for Krishna, for enlightening others. And last night, fireworks. Hare Krishna. These fireworks, they were booming and blazing and shining and shimmering and unbelievable fireworks. And it was simply for welcoming Jagannath to Shivaji Park, to his beautiful altar. And they were using the same props that are used for all kinds of crazy political rallies and weddings and everything, but now they're being used for Jagannath, creating the spiritual world. So beautiful. And the stage was so aesthetic, so charming, and all the arrangements, and how prasad was being served in that back area was beautiful. I think there were 16 different prasadam booths, counters, where it was being 20,375 plates of prasadam within about 4 or 5 hours. Efficient. And when we were giving lecture, we looked back, as far as the eye could see, it was just one massive crowd of people. It was beautiful. But the reason I'm using this example today is that the whole thing was organized by our youth. Believe it or not, our temple, all the temple management, all they did is give their blessings. It was the easiest festival that this temple has ever had. And these young people, all the money for it Nothing came from the temple treasury. It was all raised by these young devotees. And all the management and all the arrangement, everything. In fact, to get permission for that parade was very difficult, because the person in charge was a policeman who was determined to stop all these religious parades because they just caused too much traffic jams and too much dangers of all kinds of communal problems and everything else. And one of the biggest temples in the whole world, he refused to give them permission. And I think as of now, he's still not giving permission. And our devotee, Radhikapati Prabhu, yes? He goes into that person's office. He's a very, very big police superintendent, powerful man. And he just said, "Get out of my office. I'm not going to give permission for this. No more. These Ganapati parades, these ISKCON parades, there's so much headache, so much problem, so much danger. Out. I'm already refusing everyone." Hare Krishna. These devotees with all kinds of political contacts and lawyers and everything, they can't get permission. This one young devotee, he says, "But I'm a taxpayer, so you have to listen to what I say." This is what was told to me. You can check out whether it's true. Even I'm going to check it out, actually. But this is what was told to me. He said, "I'm not one of those monks. I'm a taxpayer. I pay my taxes. We have business. You have to listen to me." Within a few minutes, he said, the man's heart melted totally. He said, yes, we give you all permissions. You have your parade." How is that possible? All the permissions, all the raising of funds. And that was the most expensive Rath Yatra ever connected to our temple in history. And they were even told, you can't approach the congregation unless they personally, with their own enthusiasm, volunteer. Otherwise, you have to collect from outside. And they did it that way. It was beautiful. Wonderful, wonderful parade. Incredible route. One of the most prestigious parks in all of Bombay. Beautiful decorations, well organized, fireworks, everything. Amazing prasad. And it was all done just by the local congregation of youth in that area. And I asked Govinda Prabhu, what did we do for that Rath Yatra? Usually a festival, there's so many questions coming to me, should we do this, nobody said anything. The only thing the temple really had to do with the Rath Yatra is they just posted the advertisement in front, right? Practically everything else was just... My question, why and how? Because those devotees had enthusiasm. Because they had a sincere, genuine desire to serve, selflessly. Therefore, Krishna empowered them. And this is how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement spreads. Srila Prabhupada, when he saw a devotee, and at the time of Prabhupada, when he was manifesting his pastimes physically on this earth, most of his devotees were younger than these devotees. Yes? Srila Prabhupada saw the desire and empowered them. Yes, do it. He didn't micromanage them. He saw a general desire, and by his encouragement, he empowered them to open centers, to have big festivals, to distribute tens and thousands of literatures, to bring so many people to the feet of the Lord. Where there is genuine inspiration and enthusiasm, there is Krishna's empowerment to do wonderful things. Now, these devotees who organized the Ratha Yatra, it's not that they just sat in their rooms getting enthused. They worked hard. For how long were they preparing? Huh? According to Gauranga Prabhu, that means you better check it out. Yes, you know how these empowered preachers could be when it comes to statistics? 3 months. They were working, planning tirelessly for 3 months for this event. And none of them got paid a single paisa. They had nothing to gain personally except blessings. And they were, dealing with governments and dealing with permissions. We were speaking about that one noble policeman who just gave permission for the parade, but getting permission to use Shivaji Park, it's not a small thing. And do you know, they got that whole section of Shivaji Park for the whole day and night. And they paid, I believe it was 350 rupees. That's empowerment. But simply because they wanted to please Lord Jagannath, they wanted to please Srila Prabhupada, they wanted to please the Vaishnavas, 3 months of battling and working and planning and going against all kinds of odds to make it happen. And practically nobody even knows who did it. How many of you know who did it? There wasn't advertisements with plaques saying, I did this and I did that. No, they don't care. They just wanted the service. I am so grateful and so proud of these devotees. And we can see, because they created such a wonderful spiritual atmosphere, actually, the fireworks were like kirtan. Very loud too. Because they were being offered to Jagannath. As soon as they go off, well, it was more like, it's really loud, thundering, like bombs. But they were being offered to the deities, offered to the Vaishnavas. So therefore, that sound was offered to Krishna. And as it traveled through the airway, it was Mahaprasad. So everywhere, within miles of Shivaji Park, that heard those fireworks going off were getting purified. And even the smoke, yes, was offered to Krishna. Even the smoke was prasad. How many people were getting purified? And kirtan through the streets of miles and miles of such a central part of Bombay. This was really wonderful. And the atmosphere was just so sublime. The lighting, the decor, the the mood was permeated by the heart's devotion of the people who put that project together. What does this say? Huh? Ah, yes. This is a very interesting letter, but I'm not going to read it to you. Until it's the appropriate time. Because of the hearts of these devotees, selflessly serving. Believe me, it wasn't because of the props and the decorations that they rented that made it such a spiritual environment. It was because of the love and the devotion, the selfless sacrifice in which they put it together. That probably 10,000 people were sitting for that lecture. And people were really, really listening. Really listening. Very pious people. Some of them were probably very impious people. But the association of all those devotees and the atmosphere it created made those people receptive and enthusiastic to hear. And 20,375 people stood in long lines to get prasad. And while they're in lines, they're hearing the lectures, they're hearing the kathas and everything else. Getting prasad. Wonderful. It just shows that the only real qualification to do great service to the Lord is our sincere enthusiasm to perform that service without selfish motives, and our willingness to cooperate with one another in order to do it. In Krishna consciousness, it takes a selfless spirit of devotion to cooperate. Because you don't get paid. Sometimes companies, they'll cooperate only because of what they're going to get from it. Yes? People within the company, different companies, they'll cooperate. Nations that are enemies will become allies if there's a more dangerous enemy that is threatening both sides. Yes? So cooperation in this world is all based on selfishness. It's conditional. And that cooperation could easily be major conflict as soon as one or both parties sees that there's a different interest. But in Krishna consciousness, when we're rendering selfless service, we're cooperating for a higher cause. We were speaking last night about Jarikhanda, when Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya was doing kirtan. And he had the deers and the tigers embracing in love. Deer hate tigers. Why? Because a tiger's only thought of a deer is to eat them, which is the ultimate exploitation. To kill them and eat them. They're enemies. But because they were brought together for the pleasure of the Lord, they had love for each other. They had perfect cooperation for each other. It's not easy for many, many people to be cooperating only to give. But that's what they did. And so many thousands and thousands and thousands of people tasted the fruit of their enthusiasm, their selflessness, and their cooperation. And I'm so grateful to them. Now we'll get to this note. Not a single one of them is here today. Do you know why? Probably you're thinking, because they were up all night long, so they must be sleeping. Yes? That would be a reasonable, justified reason for them not to be here. Because I left there about after 11 o'clock in the night, and I was just going to meet the people who were doing the seva. And it looked to me like they were just starting. They were working, they were fully engaged. They didn't look like they were going to leave there for a long time. They were probably up most through the night. Right now, it says, Dear Radha Kund, Prabhu, please tell Maharaj, if possible, my experience is nothing is impossible for Radha Kund, Prabhu. Now, in such a hot afternoon, the whole team of the people who organized, raised the funds, and put the whole project together for the Rath Yatra, they are now cleaning Shivaji Park. So I'd like to name the devotees who were prominent. This name was written by Govinda Prabhu. So if there's any omissions, you can speak to Govinda Prabhu. As I'm reading each name, please extend your gratitude by chanting Hari Bol. Chant so loud they can hear you at Shivaji Park. Okay. Mahajan Prabhu. Sanatan Gopal Prabhu. Ananda Krishna Prabhu. Chaitanya Hari Prabhu. Vaikuntanath Prabhu. Vaikuntha Prabhu. Sandeep Kot. Sanjay Katate. Mahesh Jakan. Much louder, please. Dinesh Shetty. Shrikar Prabhu. Shailesh. And Govinda puts his name last. Radhika Pati Prabhu. And God knows what. Satyanarayan Prabhu. And all their wives and family members who had to tolerate dealing with them while they were doing like this. Thank you very much.